There are a series of changes in the new syllabus. The main change is actually related to assessment. We see a movement away from a lot of definitions and a lot of wordy submissions, and we should see a huge migration towards illustrations and annotation. So because that's the driver, we should see a lot of change in the way that the designs are presented. The actual content that's there is very, very similar. There's some slight movements. There's an introduction of creative elements from torrents, and there's some really small changes in the way the ISMG, the specific marking guide's produced. But the main change is it's very small, but it's in the assessment area, and it relates to the way that the presentation of design is going to come together.
Yeah, I suppose what's new in the book is that when the first edition was put out, the syllabus itself was brand new. And so we've taken the opportunity to use the experience of these almost 5 years of the design syllabus to sort of build that in to the textbook, and hopefully it speaks more to what the syllabus is becoming. First edition's great, but we just had the opportunity to build on what we know now. Yeah. This edition benefits from almost 5 years of seeing how the syllabus works in the classroom. So we've taken this opportunity to build on that knowledge and experience, as well as updating it for the tweaks and updates in the syllabus itself, to make it hopefully a better guide for what the syllabus is now. One of the ways we've done that is we've restructured the book quite heavily, not just into across 2 volumes, but we've also, in the first volume, the first book that's coming out this year, is really restructured around 3 main sections. So the first section is called Designing, second section is Visualizing, and the third, Design. So that third Design section probably has a lot of familiar content from the previous edition, updated, refreshed, and enriched. But the visualizing section has also got quite a lot of content that's been updated from the previous edition, with an emphasis a bit more on practice. But the first section is all new. So the designing section is all about guiding the student through the kind of attitudes that they should have when they're studying design, how design works in the classroom, and indeed what's different about studying design at high school in the classroom, perhaps from some of the other subjects they might be doing. So design has some different kind of framing, and the way you approach problems is quite different from a lot of other subjects. Not better or worse, just different. And we really want to take the opportunity to alert students to, I guess, some attitudinal adjustments they should make. There's some challenges with doing design. You're often putting your ideas out there, and you can feel very exposed and vulnerable when you're showing people your ideas. And we talk a lot about attitudes and sort of managing your emotions in the classroom. And then we go on to the kind of tools that are useful when you're working on design projects, and a step-by-step guide all the way through from starting to finishing the project, including some advice on perhaps how to enhance your assessment chances. And of course, probably the big change is the class activities. There are activities in the previous books, but we've tried to enhance those and build on them, and hopefully teachers and students will find them very practical in the classroom.
I think one of the standout changes in the book is from the previous editions. We saw a lot of graphic design work in the previous edition. We saw a lot of examples, and it was some great content. But this edition really tries to go across multiple design disciplines. And that's what the syllabus tells us and encourages us to do. And what we're seeing in the classroom is there are some students that just love fashion design. They just want to focus in on fashion design. Some that would love to experience what architectural design looks like and what it might be to create that. And we've got others that just really enjoy product design. But there are many that try one thing. By the time they get to Unit 3, Unit 4, they're enjoying others. In this edition, you'll see lots and lots of examples, some case studies. There are some visual design examples of how to illustrate in multiple disciplines as well. So hopefully, it's one of my standout points of difference for this book is to try and make sure that we think of all students and all of their potential pathways that are coming next.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's so important to harness the passions of a student. And students are drawn to different areas of design. We resonate at different scales with design, if you like. Architecture is large scale, industrial design quite small scale, interaction design and digital media, it's another scale again. And I think it's really important that we teach students in ways that harness those passions and not railroad them. And I think that's what's so exciting about the syllabus, is it's so broad. It's also what's so challenging about it. None of us as teachers know everything about all aspects of design. So the book is an attempt to try and build up resources that nourish students and teachers in the classroom, make that breadth a little bit easier to accommodate, and the chance for students to try multiple things and then find out what they love is really exciting. That's a wonderful thing about the syllabus. So yeah, it's a really exciting thing. You'll find many of the classroom activities may feel familiar. For example, one of the activities is brainstorming, another one is Scamper. We've restructured them around a format which explains a little bit about when to use this particular activity or method, what you need in terms of equipment or people, how many people you need to run it. For example, in brainstorming, between 3 to 7 people. And also a few rules, things that you need to keep in mind when you're running that activity. That is for the student and or the teacher to keep in mind. And finally, there's a step-by-step guide, numbered steps on what to do to actually conduct the activity. So many of these activities are designed for students to be able to run on their own. So they're methods, if you like, design methods that they can apply. So there's a method on how to create a persona for your user group, how to assemble a mood board, how to assemble an inspiration board. And students could follow the textbook and basically follow the steps and do that without very much guidance from the teacher, no problem. And then other exercises such as the concept bomb or the style transfer exercise are really designed to be done in a classroom with multiple people, the whole class of students. And so the idea is that some of those activities can be run independently by the student, and others are really designed for the classroom context, or some blend. So essentially it's a very step-by-step guide to how to apply some of these methods during the design process with guidance on when to use them. In terms of how to actually use them as a teacher in the classroom, we're creating PowerPoint and Keynote slide presentations that a teacher can download, add some resources to make it appropriate for the current project or the current context, and then put it up on the screen in the classroom, and then use that to run the exercise in the classroom. So hopefully you'll be able to run a classroom exercise with very little friction. You'll be able to download these presentation files, make the changes that you think you need to make them right for your circumstance, and then just run with it. So hopefully as easy as possible to put into practice. You won't have to scan or photocopy pages out of the book and all that kind of stuff. It'll be kind of hopefully easy, as much as any class is easy.
There's certainly a breadth there, and I think you're absolutely right, Andrew, that many teachers would have seen some of these before, but my experience is I hadn't seen lots, and the scope and the detail that it went into, because I know these are things that you've adapted from your first year tertiary learnings and brought into the secondary schools. So I just think it's fantastic that there's a range of options, and it's really down to the teachers to choose and not choose, because you've got some classes that will thrive under certain activities and others that won't, and then there's some that you slowly bring up their comfort levels before they're ready to take on some of the more abstract, certainly in those divergent thinking strategies, which we know the syllabus is pushing, and rightly so. There's some really exciting stuff, but some of the classes will need tailoring to suit what's working and what's not. So that'll be, and that's really just the teacher's discretion, but that's why the book's got such a breadth of activities to use, and hopefully for for all of those teachers out there that there's something new for everyone. Yep.
Yeah, we stress this in the book that no student should do all of the activities in the book. That they just gobble up all their time. It wouldn't be productive. So students and indeed teachers should be selective about the activities that suit a particular project. And a few of those activities are quite high level, and they might not be appropriate for some students or some projects. So yeah, use your experience to choose what works best for your circumstances. So along with each design exercise that's in the book, we're creating PowerPoint presentation files, so you can download whichever format suits you. So the idea is that for each exercise there are the advice about when to use it, what you need and how to apply it, and a step-by-step guide. And for each of those activities there's also in Nelson MindTap a downloadable presentation file that you can download, adjust. You might add some resources, some stimulus to suit the particular project. Some of them are timed exercises, 10 minutes on this stage, 15 minutes on this stage. So you would edit the file to suit the length of your classroom lesson, your period length. Make those adjustments, make them suit you, and then put them up on the screen in the classroom and run the exercise from that file. So the idea is to make it as low friction, as easy as possible for you to implement this content from the book right into the classroom, and hopefully make your time more productive, more time focus on the needs of your students and less time messing around with slides.
When we first got contact with publishers, to be honest, we had a very short time frame, and the more we got into units 1 and 2, the more we realised there is to do, and it was very ambitious to have take in what was originally a revise the book task, and then we realised we had to really rework it, and then I was thankful that Andrew came to the rescue and got more and more involved in the book, and the idea of taking on Unit 3 and 4 just wasn't feasible. But then we realised, there's some huge advantages by giving that level of depth and focus on Units 1 and 2, offering some design understanding in those designing sections that are early on, that we can then unpack again in that second volume. So we can go into a deeper level of understanding, knowing that students have already been introduced, they've done 2 projects, and we can talk openly about some terms that are in that first volume. So there's some really big advantages. I know that the second volume owners will have access to the Nelson MindTap space for Units 1 and 2. So they'll still be able to access that content for those students that are picking up Units 3 and 4.
Yeah, well, the first book, the designing part of the first book is designed to work across Units 1, 2, 3 and 4. But the opportunity to work on the second book means we've got a bit more time to enrich it, really. So we can make a richer resource. We have some ideas which we probably can't talk about just yet, some exciting ideas for additional content within that second book that we hope having a bit more time to do lets us do that. But ultimately, both books working together will be what we hope is a really good guide for students and teachers on design, something that stimulates, enriches and inspires and works together across both Year 11 and 12.